Chapter 73. The door opened, and Ren guided Elmesia inside with her usual grace. The Emperor's long silver hair shimmered like moonlight, her jade-green eyes glimmering with the sharp clarity of a ruler who had seen centuries pass. Her very presence carried an aura of authority, one that demanded respect without a word spoken. "I appreciate you making time for me, Demon Lord Rimuru," she said, her voice calm yet weighty, as though each syllable carried the weight of history itself. "Of course," I replied with a graceful smile, gesturing to the chair across from mine. "Please, make yourself comfortable. Would you prefer wine or brandy? Both are among Tempest's finest." Her lips curved faintly, just enough to be noticeable. "Brandy. If you insist on softening me with drink, then I shall indulge." I poured for her, carefully matching her dignity in my movements. Elmesia sat with regal posture, jade-green eyes gleaming sharply as she accepted the brandy. She gave it a delicate swirl, took a single sip, then set the glass down with a clink that carried more weight than any slam. "Impressive," she said quietly. "To think a fledgling nation could already produce such quality. But, Demon Lord Rimuru." Then suddenly her tone hardened like steel. "What in the world were you thinking, naming primordial demons of all beings?" Her voice cracked like a whip. Elmesia leaned forward slightly, her jade eyes narrowing. "Do you grasp the danger? The precedent you set? They are calamities, embodiments of chaos itself, forces that emperors, kings, and demon lords alike have avoided binding for countless generations. And yet you treat it as if handing out sweets at a festival." I tried to maintain my elegant smile, but the weight of her glare pressed down on me like a mountain. "Did you think their loyalty comes cheaply? Did you think the consequences would never ripple outward? No, whether you meant or not, you have shaken the balance of the world, and you will answer for it, Demon Lord Rimuru." Her words weren't just anger, they were the scolding of a senior ruler, someone who had lived far longer than I could imagine, and who was genuinely furious that I had treated something so dangerous so lightly. I swirled my own glass, feigning serenity in the face of her piercing glare. My, Emperor Elmesia, I see your reputation for sharp words is well earned. But surely, you're not suggesting I shouldn't have secured such powerful allies, are you? After all, Tempest must safeguard itself against hostile nations, and naming them was simply efficient. I gave her a graceful smile, as if that explained everything. "Efficient." Her jade-green eyes flashed, her voice rising with rare heat. "Demon Lord Rimuru, that is the most reckless excuse I have heard in centuries. Do you understand what kind of beings you've bound to your side? Do you even realize the weight of such an action?" "Well, yes," I replied smoothly, lifting my glass as if toasting. "But things worked out quite well, don't you think? Testarossa, Ultima, and Carrera have been perfectly lovely so far. Hard-working, polite, devoted, why, they're practically model citizens." "Lovely, polite, model citizens." Elmesia was out of her chair now, her composure cracking as she gestured sharply. Honestly, you are even more troublesome than the rumors suggested. At least Guy Crimson never pretends to be harmless while throwing the world into chaos." I coughed lightly into my hand, pretending to hide a smile. "Oh dear, am I really so notorious already?" Her sigh was long, heavy, and full of exasperation. Then, fixing me with her jade-green eyes, she spoke with biting frankness. "Seriously, you are even bigger piece of work than how Errol described you. I expected you to be difficult, but this." I bowed my head slightly, keeping my tone soft. "Sorry about that. I really did summon a Diablo without knowing he was primordial, and once he came, well, others followed. And at that point, how could I say no?" Elmesia's jade-green eyes sharpened. Her voice carried the weight of centuries. "Then let me ask you seriously, Demon Lord Rimuru, are you thinking of taking over the world?" I couldn't help myself. Laughter bubbled up. "Of course not. I'm already exhausted from all the paperwork I do now. Why in the world would I want even more work? Besides, do you really think Guy Crimson would sit back and let me try something like that? I am considering enacting a new pact with you, but before I do, I wanted to hear your thoughts." Elmesia's demeanor shifted in an instant. The gentle mask of royalty vanished, replaced by an overwhelming pressure that pressed down on the room itself. Heroic aura, and not the kind I had felt from Gazel. This was deeper, sharper, the sort of presence that could crush the unprepared just by existing. "Let's hear it." I met her head-on, unfurling my own lord's ambition, refusing to yield. The air trembled as our wills collided, invisible forces clashing like cannon fire. Neither of us blinked, neither averted our gaze, it was a battle of sovereigns. Her voice rang out, cutting through the suffocating pressure like a blade. How do you intend to control those primal demons? If they were to run rampant, what then? How would you answer to the world for unleashing such a calamity? The weight behind her words carried not just anger, but a monarch's duty to protect her people. I met Elmisia's gaze, my golden eyes steady. If the primordial demons act beyond control, I thought, letting the words take shape before I spoke. Well, I'll stop them before it comes to that, I said, my voice calm, yet carrying the weight of certainty. That's all I can do to prevent any fallout, isn't it? Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise passing over her composed expression. Wait a minute, she said, her tone uneven. Not to drop the act for a moment, but, you'd actually stop those demons. You'd step up to do that. I allowed a faint, confident smile to touch my lips, leaning back slightly. My posture was relaxed. Yes, I said softly, though each word carried absolute certainty. It may be a likely scenario, but they heed what I have told them. I believe they are far more mature now than they once were. Even as I spoke, I felt the weight of responsibility settle over me like a familiar cloak. It was my duty to maintain balance, to act decisively, to prevent disaster, no matter how powerful the threat. The tension in Elmisia's posture seemed to ease, her shoulders lowering slightly as if a great weight had lifted. I watched her carefully, noting the subtle shift, and allowed myself a small, approving smile. All right, I understand your position, she said, her voice calm but resolute. If you should ever become an enemy to mankind, I will exercise all my force to stop you. So instead, let us continue to deepen our bonds and maintain our current friendly relations. I am trusting you to stop them if they go out of control. There was no hostility in her words, only sincerity wrapped in noble poise. I inclined my head slightly, acknowledging the weight of her trust, and reached for the decanter at my side. Of course, I replied, pouring brandy into her glass. She accepted it with elegance befitting an empress, taking a small sip before a faint smile touched her lips. Wonderful. This festival of yours truly is splendid, Rimuru. The music, the atmosphere, the energy of the people, it all breathes life into the city. Her tone grew playful, though her posture remained graceful. And the food, absolutely delicious. If you hold another festival like this in the future, you must make sure to invite me. I couldn't help but smile, warmth welling in my chest at her words. To think someone like Elmisia would enjoy herself so openly here, I would be delighted to, I said, my voice carrying both dignity and genuine happiness. Our conversation drifted then, no longer bound by politics or tension. It was light, casual, even fun. For a moment, it felt less like a meeting between rulers and more like an evening shared between friends. Elmisia's gaze shifted, locking onto me with an intensity that made my chest tighten slightly. Her jade green eyes, usually so composed, now held a hint of something almost desperate. Was there something else? I asked cautiously, trying to keep my tone casual despite the sudden tension. No, nothing major, she replied quickly, waving a delicate hand. It's just, I have a request. I want you to introduce me to Mr. Yoshida. I blinked, caught off guard by her directness. Oh, that would be simple enough. But promise me, don't force him into anything, all right? Her face lit up, the relief almost palpable. Of course I won't. Her response was so earnest that I felt a small smile tug at my lips. She really is playful, even while trying to sound serious. I made a mental note. I would introduce them to each other after the festival, no pressure, just a proper meeting. Then I reached inside my stomach space and brought out a small tray of sweets, specially prepared to complement brandy. These were not ordinary desserts, they were creation Seal and I had perfected ourselves, combining flavors no one in this world had ever tasted. Elmisia's eyes widened slightly as she looked at them, curiosity sparkling in her expression. They're exquisite, she murmured, picking one delicately with her fingers. She took a bite, her eyes closing for just a moment in pleasure. I didn't know sweets could pair with alcohol so wonderfully. Truly, Demon Lord Rimuru, this is marvelous. I allowed myself a quiet chuckle, pleased with her reaction. So, not only does she enjoy festivals and fun, she has quite the refined palate too. It felt good, seeing her relaxed and genuinely happy, a side of her few ever got to witness. Ellipsis ellipsis ellipsis. Ellipsis ellipsis. Ellipsis. Ah, my head hurts. What happened? I groaned, blinking rapidly as I tried to piece together my surroundings. The floor was hard beneath me, and the faint morning light spilled through the windows. You and Emperor Elmisia got drunk and went to sleep here, Seal said, her tone sharp, tinged with annoyance and barely suppressed anger. My brain jumped into overdrive. Slowly, I sat up, and my eyes immediately found Elmisia. She too was just waking, her jade green eyes wide, her expression a mixture of horror and disbelief. And then, it all came rushing back. Last night, we had drunk a little too much while talking about sweets and other trivial things. But somehow, in the middle of our conversation, I had revealed some of the most sensitive information we had. Big state secrets, details that only Ren had known. Not only that, I had blabbered about our future goals. The technology we were planning to recreate in this world. Everything. I froze, realizing the magnitude of my mistake. My mouth felt dry, my stomach twisting. How could I have been so careless? Elmisia's horrified expression mirrored my own panic. She didn't speak, but the sheer disbelief in her eyes said enough. I've just told the Emperor, everything. Everything we were supposed to keep secret. I sank back slightly, resting my face in my hands. Ren's going to kill me when she finds out. Elmisia, sitting across from me, stared at me awkwardly. Her jade green eyes flickered nervously, and her mouth opened and closed a few times as if she were trying to find the right words but couldn't. I took a deep breath, feeling just as awkward. Well, I guess we kinda said a little too much last night, I admitted, my voice careful, trying to gauge her reaction. Finally, she let out a long, exasperated sigh. A little, she echoed, the words dripping with incredulity. That was a lot. Pretending it didn't happen won't help anyone. Her gaze sharpened as she scowled, clearly imagining what Erald's reaction would be when he found out. I mirrored her expression, a wry smile tugging at the corner of my lips. If Ren finds out, I'd never hear the end of it, I said. She's the type to hold grudges, for a really long time. She still complains about some girl who killed her or something ages ago. Elmisia's lips twitched, half amused, half annoyed. Then I suppose we're in the same boat, she muttered. This was definitely a mistake. The room fell into a tense, awkward silence, broken only by our mutual realization. There was no easy way to undo what had been said. We had crossed a line last night, and now the consequences were waiting for us, looming larger with every passing second. I took a deep breath, forcing my brain gears to spin faster than ever. Damn it, I wouldn't even need to work this hard if Seal wasn't sulking right now. But soon enough, an idea came to me. The perfect excuse, reason. I plastered on my brightest smile and tilted my head slightly, feigning complete innocence. Mistake? What mistake are you talking about? Elmisia gave me a long look before sighing, her jade green eyes narrowing in mild exasperation. I told you, I don't think pretending we didn't tell each other some big secret will help. Still smiling, I waved it off lightly. Big secret? Mistake? What are you talking about? We're friendly nations, aren't we? We just shared some useful information with each other. For a moment, she blinked at me, then realization dawned, and the corners of her lips curved into a knowing smile. Ah, you're right, Demon Lord Rimuru. It was nothing more than a normal exchange of information. I chuckled softly, leaning back with deliberate ease. You don't have to be so formal with me. We're good friends, aren't we? It's perfectly normal for good friends to exchange information. I ended with a playful wink. Elmisia stared at me for a heartbeat before bursting into a small, conspiratorial smile. You're right, Rimuru. I leaned forward slightly, lowering my voice as if sharing some great secret. Then, in exchange, I'll call you El-chan. For the first time since this whole mess began, Elmisia's jade green eyes widened, not in shock, but in surprise. Then, slowly, her lips curved into a radiant, elegant smile. Not the regal, distant expression of an empress, but something more mischievous, more human. Oh my, she said lightly, amusement dancing in her tone. El-chan, is it? I suppose I shall allow it, Rimuru. We both chuckled at that, leaning back in unison. The tension from earlier melted away, replaced by something more like a secret pact between co-conspirators. Two rulers who had let too much slip in a drunken haze, now covering it up with playful nicknames and shared smiles. Across our little table, we exchanged a look, and then both smiled knowingly, as if silently agreeing never to breathe a word of this to anyone else. From now on, this will be our little secret. After saying my farewells to El-chan, yes, L-chan, and promising that we would have another party, another important meeting someday, I finally made my way back home. The sky was still tinged with the faint glow of early morning, the festival grounds quiet for now, though it wouldn't be long before the city came alive again. Today was a rare blessing, a free day. No councils, no negotiations, no nobles demanding my time. Everyone, myself included, had been given the chance to simply enjoy the festival and immerse themselves in the culture of Tempest. I thought about that as I walked, a smile tugging at my lips. Maybe I'll spend the day wandering the stalls. Before long, I reached my residence. The house was quiet, almost eerily so, likely because the children were still fast asleep. The calm should have been comforting, but the moment I stepped into the hall, I froze. There, sitting on the sofa, was Seal. Her posture was perfect, elegant as ever, but her cold crimson gaze cut straight through me. My stomach twisted. I'm in trouble. I swallowed, suddenly unsure of myself. Seal, I tried, my voice soft, almost cautious. She didn't answer. Instead, she slowly shifted her gaze away, turning her head to the side as if I didn't exist. The silence was heavy, suffocating. I winced inwardly, anxiety curling in my chest. She's ignoring me, which means I really did make her angry. The bright cheer of earlier faded in an instant, leaving only nervous tension in its wake. The moment I stepped into the hall, the cheerful mood I'd carried from L-chan's place shattered like glass. Good morning, Seal. I offered my brightest, most harmless smile. You're up early, huh? Slept well. No answer. She didn't even glance at me, just calmly shifted her gaze to the opposite direction. My smile stiffened. Oh okay, maybe you didn't sleep well. I rubbed the back of my neck and tried again. You're not angry because maybe had a bit too much to drink last night, are you? Silence. Her face remained unreadable, but I caught the faintest twitch of her lips, like she was definitely pouting. Right, definitely angry. My brain gears spun at maximum speed. This wasn't a battlefield I could win with logic, time to switch tactics. I leaned forward with my most innocent look, tilting my head. Seal Tilda, my beloved wife Tilda, won't you forgive this poor little slime for her tiny, insignificant mistake? Nothing. She elegantly crossed one leg over the other and looked away again, almost regal in her dismissal. Ouch. Brutal. Okay, plan B. I crouched down so I could peek up at her face from below. Come on, don't ignore me. Look, I'm right here in front of you. Her crimson eyes flickered toward me for the briefest moment, then instantly turned away. I nearly fell backwards. Did she just? She really did. She looked away on purpose. That's not fair. I complained, putting my hands on my hips like a sulking child. You can't just ignore me forever. What if I really apologize seriously this time? I straightened my posture, bowed deeply, and said, I am most sincerely sorry, Seal. Still nothing. A heavy silence filled the room. Only her faint pout told me she was listening at all. No matter if I flirted, acted cute, or apologized with all the dignity of a demon lord, Seal simply turned her head away each time. My heart sank. This was going to be harder than negotiating with the other demon lords. Just as I was racking my brain for a miracle plan, the sound of soft footsteps reached my ears. Shizu came padding into the hall, eyes bright and wide awake. Behind her, Shinsha and Kat shuffled in, both rubbing their eyes, hair still messy from sleep. A ray of hope. My daughters, my backup cavalry. I turned to them with a desperate look, silently screaming help me. The three of them blinked, glancing between me and the icy statue that was Seal. Shizu tilted her head, Shinsha's sleepy eyes slowly widened in realization, and then, without a word, the two of them spun on their heels and left the room. Wait, why are you retreating? I nearly tripped trying to call after them. The only answer was the sound of the door closing. I stared in disbelief. My own daughters, no, traitors, abandoned me without hesitation. That left only Kat, still half asleep, rubbing her eyes. She blinked at the door Shizu and Shinsha had disappeared through, then turned back toward the sofa. The moment her gaze landed on Seal, her drowsiness vanished. Her whole body stiffened. The survival instincts of a cornered animal sparked in her eyes. Sensing the overwhelming aura of danger, Kat slowly, very slowly, turned on her heel, clearly intending to follow her sister's example. But then, Kat, Ciel's voice cut through the room like a blade of ice. The poor girl froze mid-step. Her shoulders trembled. I could practically hear her thoughts screaming no, not me. Tell your mommy, Ciel's crimson eyes glowed faintly as she fixed Kat with her cold gaze, that I'm not talking to her. So she should stop bothering me. Kat turned back around, her face twisted in a perfect expression of betrayal. She looked at me with wide, pitiful eyes that clearly said I got dragged into this against my will, again. This definitely wasn't her first time being caught in one of Ciel's sulking storms. Finally, Kat let out a long, tired sigh, far too old for someone her age. Mommy, Mom says she's not talking to you, so you should stop bothering her. I flinched as if stabbed. Even you, Kat. Kat just gave me a look of deep resignation before collapsing onto the armchair nearby, rubbing her eyes like she wanted to pretend none of this was happening. I stood, scooping Kat up into my arms before she could try escaping again. She let out a tiny squeak of surprise but didn't resist, too drowsy to fight back. I settled down into the armchair, gently lowering her onto my lap. She immediately curled up against me, snuggling into my chest like a lazy cat who had found the warmest spot in the house. Her little face softened, and a content hum escaped her throat as I slowly stroked her hair, patting her head in rhythm. The tension from Ciel's icy glare faded just a little as I lost myself in the comforting weight of my daughter. Kat, I whispered softly, bending close so only she could hear. Help me, please. For a second, I thought I saw her eyes flicker with sympathy. Maybe, just maybe, she would throw me a lifeline where her sisters had abandoned me. But then she yawned, eyes fluttering shut again, and whispered back, voice heavy with resignation. There's nothing I can do. My heart cracked. You too, Kat, I whispered back fiercely, shaking her slightly. I thought you were my ally. Kat only nuzzled closer into my chest, clearly deciding that my suffering wasn't her problem. Her warmth was comforting, yes, but her betrayal stung twice as much. I leaned back in the chair, sighing in defeat as I continued patting her hair. So this is what it feels like, to be utterly abandoned on all fronts. Across the room, Ciel's crimson gaze flicked toward us. The way she ignored me but allowed Kat to snuggle in my arms felt deliberate, like she was saying, I'll allow this much, but you don't think you're forgiven. With Kat proving to be nothing but a warm, purring weight on my lap, I knew I had only one option left. My last lifeline, my trusty maid. I reached out with thought communication. Ren, emergency, help me. Her voice came back immediately, calm and collected as always. What happened? Ciel's angry. She won't talk to me. I shot back, clinging to hope. A brief pause. Then, with the faintest edge of amusement, what did you do this time? I froze, scandalized. Wah, what do you mean, this time? Exactly what it sounds like, she replied smoothly. It's normal for you to upset her somehow. I bit back a groan. Normal, as if making my wife angry is part of my daily routine. I don't like how you think I'm always causing trouble. I protested. Yes, Ren replied, utterly ignoring my wounded pride. Her tone was so flat it was impossible to tell whether she was humoring me or dismissing me entirely. So, what exactly did you do? I don't know, I insisted, tightening my grip on Kat, who only responded by nuzzling deeper into my chest. She's angry, but I don't even know why. Even through the telepathic link, I could feel Ren's exasperation, like she was pinching the bridge of her nose. All right, my lady, she finally said with a resigned sigh. Tell me everything that happened after I left you. Step by step, spare no detail. All right, I began reluctantly, shifting Kat on my lap as she continued to doze off. After you left, I had a talk with Elmisia. You know, the usual diplomacy, words about cooperation, promises of friendship, that kind of thing. And as a token of goodwill, she invited me to drink with her. So, of course, I couldn't just refuse, right? It'd be rude. I deliberately left out the state-secret blabbering part. No need to dig my grave any deeper than it already was. Go on, Ren said, her tone already laced with suspicion. Well, after drinking for a while, one thing led to another, and we both got a bit drunk. Next thing I know, Elmisia and I were both lying on the floor, fast asleep. That's all. For a moment, silence. Then came Ren's reply, her voice heavy with exasperation, each word dripping with irritation. So, did you apologize to her? I did, I answered quickly, my tone almost pleading. I told her I was sorry for drinking too much and getting drunk. But, she's still ignoring me. I hesitated, feeling the silence on the other end grow heavier and heavier. Finally, Ren's voice came back. no longer calm, but sharp, annoyed, almost shouting. You did what? Do you even know why she's angry? Her words struck like daggers through the telepathic link, and I winced instinctively, shrinking back as if she were standing right in front of me with that icy, scolding glare of hers. Wait, so it wasn't about me getting drunk? Then what? What did I do wrong this time? Ren's voice was taut, like she was physically restraining herself from snapping. My lady, never apologize to your wife without knowing what you did wrong. That will only make her even angrier. I stiffened. Really? Yes, really, she sighed, the kind of sigh that carried years of frustration packed into a single breath. You can't just throw empty apologies around and expect her to forgive you. Then tell me what I did wrong. I all but begged, desperate for some kind of answer, anything that could save me. There was a pause. I imagined Ren pinching the bridge of her nose, her elegant brows twitching. Finally, she spoke, voice laced with tired patience. Okay, imagine this. Lady Seal is with a beautiful woman. They drink alone together, and then she comes back home the next morning. How would you feel? The image slammed into my mind like a hammer. My whole body stiffened. Oh. It hit me, hard. I could practically feel my soul leaving my body as the pieces clicked together. So that's why she's angry. My stomach twisted with guilt. Ren, thank you. Thank you for helping me. I promise, I'll apologize to her properly this time. I was about to close off the thought communication, relief flooding me, when Ren's voice cut in sharply. Wait. Her tone was low and commanding, the kind that made the back of my neck prickle. I froze, halfway to end the link. What is it? I waited for Ren to continue, but instead there was only silence. Just as I was about to prod her again, her voice finally came through, hesitant in a way I wasn't used to. My lady, could you please send Lady Cat to me? I have something to talk to her about. Cat, I repeated aloud, blinking. What could Ren possibly want with her? Well, I could always ask later. I glanced down, ready to tap Cat on the shoulder and let her know Ren was calling. But, she was gone. I blinked again, scanning the room until I caught sight of her. Cat was tiptoeing toward the door, careful, silent steps that almost made her look like she'd practiced this kind of retreat before. Sharp instincts. Perhaps she sensed danger approaching, though it was difficult to say, considering how easily Shizu and Shinsha had abandoned her earlier. Maybe she had simply been too drowsy at the time to react. Either way, I wasn't letting her escape this time. Cat, I called out, my voice firm. She froze mid-step, her back stiffening. Slowly, she turned her head, and the look she gave me was the perfect mix of betrayal and resignation, as if the whole world had just conspired against her. I gave her a sympathetic smile. Ren is calling for you. Cat sighed, rubbing her temple like she'd just aged 10 years in a single moment. With a small, weary nod, she accepted her fate and shuffled toward the door, each step heavier than the last. It was the kind of walk that said, I already know I won't like this conversation, but I can't escape it. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Cat had gone off to Ren, leaving me alone with the weight of my mistake. The room felt quieter than ever, as if even the walls were holding their breath, waiting to see what I would do. I stepped closer to Seal, lowering my voice to something soft and earnest, something only she could hear. Seal, I'm truly sorry. Her crimson eyes flickered toward me, sharp yet unreadable. I continued, choosing my words carefully. Not just for drinking last night, I realize now that I acted carelessly. I shouldn't have let my guard down in a way that might have made you feel left out or hurt. I promise next time I won't drink alone with anyone. Seal said nothing, but the slightest shift in her posture, the tiniest loosening of tension in her shoulders, gave me hope. I pressed on, sincerity threading each word. I promise I will do everything I can to make it right. Today, I want to spend time with you and the children. No meetings, no politics, just us, together. A family outing, all of you. We'll enjoy the festival, the sights, the foods. I want to make today special, for you and for everyone. Her gaze softened just a fraction, and I caught the faintest trace of a smile tugging at the corner of her lips. I understand, Master, she said finally, her voice calm but steady. I don't mind you drinking. But you can't drink with just anyone. Especially some lustful vampire. I gave her a small, grateful bow. Thank you, Seal, that means more than you know. I promise I will ask your permission first from now on. With that, the tension between us began to ease, replaced by a quiet, shared understanding. Today wouldn't be about mistakes or regrets, it would be about us. About laughter, warmth, and family. I could feel the promise of something good in the air. Today's festival would be ours to enjoy. Dash 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 dash. Cat's paw. The morning sunlight spilled softly through the windows, and I rubbed my eyes, still half asleep. Mommy hadn't come home last night. Mom said she had an important meeting, so it wasn't too surprising. I looked around. Big Sis Shizu was already fully awake, calm and collected as always, helping Shinsha get ready. Shinsha was still rubbing her eyes, clearly sleepy, but the moment Shizu mentioned that Mommy was back, she straightened up and hurried to get ready, eager not to be left behind. I yawned and stretched just as big sister Shizu turned to me with a small, patient smile. Cat, come on, let's get you ready too. I nodded, letting Big Sis guide me through the morning routine. After getting ready, we walked toward the hall. I was still sleepy, stifling a yawn as I rubbed my eyes. As we stepped inside, I yawned again, my small hands brushing across my face. Then, I heard the soft click of a door closing behind me. Why did my sister leave? A strange sense of danger prickled at me. Slowly, very slowly, I turned on my heel, my instincts telling me to follow Shizu and Shinsha's example and make a quiet escape. But then, Cat, Mom's voice cut through the room like a blade of ice. Not again, I thought miserably. Somehow, in the future too, whenever Mommy accidentally makes one of my moms angry, the responsibility, or the task of handling it, always ends up on me. Isn't that unfair? Everyone is so mean. I sighed quietly. It would probably be easier if my mama were the one sulking most of the time. Usually, she's just acting or teasing Mommy, but MOML, she only gets truly angry when Mommy actually messed up. I blinked, rubbing my eyes again. Looks like today was going to be one of those mornings. As usual, I took my place as the middle person in the chaos and sat down quietly on a chair. Mommy reached for me and picked me up, settling me on her lap. Her hands began patting my head, and I nuzzled closer, letting myself relax just a little. At least I was getting some attention, and a pat. My mood lifted slightly. Cat, help me out, okay? Mommy murmured, but there wasn't really anything I could do. I just stayed there, enjoying the warmth and comfort of her lap. Then I realized she had started talking to someone through thought communication. I knew exactly who she was speaking to, and I was certain that person would help Mommy find a way to make things right with Mom. I felt a little proud that I could witness this behind-the-scenes strategy. I leaned into Mommy's pats, closing my eyes slightly, almost enjoying the gentle rhythm as she continued her conversation. Everything felt calm for the first time this morning. Until my instincts screamed at me. If I stay here longer, I'll get caught in another trouble. I opened one eye and slowly, carefully, began tiptoeing toward the door. My steps were silent, practiced from all those times I'd accidentally caused chaos and had to run away before being caught. Luna tried to say something, but I ignored her. My focus was entirely on escaping this trap while keeping one eye on Mommy, just in case she called me back. Just as I was about to quietly slip out the door, Mommy stopped me with a gentle but firm hand on my shoulder. Ren is calling for you, she said. I rubbed my temple, already sensing the trouble that awaited me. If Ren was calling, I was probably in the middle of something I wasn't meant to be involved in. I let out a long sigh. There was no escaping it. Accepting my fate, I trudged toward the certain house, my steps slow and reluctant. When I entered the hall, she was already there, waiting. Her calm, collected presence made my heart pound just a little faster. So, tell me, Cat, she began, her voice measured but piercing. Your birth mother is me, right? I froze. My mind scrambled. How did she find out? My throat felt dry, and I could only manage a small, hesitant gasp. I really am your mother, Mama Ren said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of a revelation. That means I married her. I blinked, frozen for a moment. Well, my expression probably already told her the truth. There was no point in hiding it anymore. I swallowed hard, my small hands twisting nervously in front of me. Why yes, I admitted softly, my voice barely above a whisper. You really are my mother. Mama's gaze softened fractionally, but she didn't smile, not yet. Instead, she nodded once, as if confirming something she already suspected, then added, almost casually, good. I just needed to be certain. I felt a mixture of relief and nervousness wash over me. Relief that the truth was finally out, but nervousness because I knew that now, I was officially involved in something far bigger than just my usual morning routine. Mama began, her voice calm but carrying the weight of careful thought. As I suspected, when you kids came here and Lady Seal and I discovered some details about my lady's future wives, we took the time to discuss it carefully. We exchanged our thoughts and notes on who we believe my lady's future wives might be. After careful consideration, we both agreed that Hinata is one of them. She paused, letting that settle, before continuing. However, there was a third. One I did not know of. Lady Seal confidently stated that my lady's third wife is me. Her gaze hardened slightly, as if weighing the possibility against all reason. I did not accept it at first. Still, deep down, I could not entirely dismiss it. In some worlds, even enemies may end up as lovers. It is conceivable, though I continued to deny it to myself. Mama's eyes then narrowed, studying me carefully. It was not until you arrived, observing closely, that my suspicions grew. I could no longer ignore them. And so, I decided to ask directly, to be certain. So, now you admitted it. It's finally our reunion, I suppose, Mama said, a faint smile touching her lips. Before I could react, she lifted me effortlessly and settled me on her lap. Her hands began patting my head gently, the rhythm calm and soothing. I nuzzled closer instinctively, feeling a small warmth spread through me. Mama began to speak, her voice calm but tinged with amusement. I honestly didn't expect to have a daughter. And with my lady, no less. I do like her, of course, but getting married. That was quite a surprise. Not that I dislike it, mind you. I blinked at her words, a little odd, and she chuckled softly. Then she gently patted my head again. So, how is the future me? She asked, curiosity lacing her calm tone. You're just like you are now, Mama, I said softly, smiling. You always pat me just like this. I pouted slightly, my words tumbling out. And, unlike others, you haven't betrayed me. Mama's brow quirked in interest. Betrayed? She asked. I nodded, remembering the morning. Yeah, this morning, when Mom got angry, Shinsha and Shizu just left me. They abandoned me, I said, a little whine in my voice. Mama's lips curved into a small, gentle smile. I see, she murmured, then patted me even more, her hands warm and steady. Slowly, she drew me into a hug, holding me close. I won't ever abandon you, Cat, she said softly, her tone like velvet, filled with the quiet authority of someone who would always protect. Mama tilted her head slightly. Luna, you there? In an instant, Luna took control of my body, and I felt the familiar shift as I became her vessel. Yes, Mama, came the calm, polite voice, not mine, but Luna's. Mama's lips curved into a small, approving smile. She reached out and gently patted my head again, her hand warm and steady. Nice to meet you, she said softly, almost fondly. I felt a strange mixture of awe and comfort. Mama's gaze lingered on me, her tone now laced with quiet envy. I must admit, I feel envious, seeing how future me has two beautiful daughters. Luna closed her eyes for a moment, letting the gentle pats and the comforting presence of Mama envelop us. This was so soothing. I still hadn't forgiven my sisters, but if they apologized, and gave me head pats, I knew I would. To be continued.